Going live. Still going live. Okay, we are live.
Woo!
We are very much
Howdy!
live. So, people in the chat, do you read? Come in, people in the chat. Can you hear us? Okay. So, we got a yes. Cupute, say something. I need to make sure that like the volume sounds good and everything.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so can you guys hear Cupute well? Do I
Hopefully,
Okay, she's not too loud, too quiet. Yeah, hi everybody. Hello. Hello to all of the people saying hi. That's a lot of highs.
all caps compute.
Oh, we've already got 24 people watching. This is pretty good given I did like no give this stream no publicity, did not promote it at all cuz this is just sort of like almost like a testing stream for future reference cuz I did not know how this was going to go. Okay. So, what we are doing today is we are looking at Generation 6, the very official My Little Pony G6 from Hasbro. Yeah, not real, but if you saw our April Fool's video, you'll know that we put together just the most elaborate April Fool's prank on Earth, and Cupute and I basically just tried to fool everyone into thinking that G6 was coming, and I think we did a pretty decent job. The Cupute did a fantastic job with the artwork. Thank you, Cupute.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for hiring me for this.
Yeah, because basically I just was talking to Cupute, and um, because she's shown me some of her artwork, and I saw that she was able to draw in different styles, and she did a pretty good job with them. And I was wondering, can she make some convincing looking concept art? And Cupute, I will just let you take it from here. Explain like what happened after, like during that conversation.
So I essentially was put like he like DM'd me one day. He was like, "Hey yo, would be kind of funny, a little silly, if we decided to make an April Fool's joke as we propose G6 as like having concept art and such." I'm like, Starstrike. You know that like my project, like my side project, mind you, I've been working on it for years. That I kind of put to the side because I've been very busy. Is essentially me rehashing and making my own like G5, not to replace the G5 we have now, mind you. Just my own version of it and how I would have interpolated it based on Imulu concept art. So when Starstrike came to me on this, not only I was flabbergasted, oh, thank you, celebrity coming to me, but like I was so excited because genuinely, I love My Little Pony concept art, and I've always wanted to make it. So it was an honor, and I started immediately once he asked me to do that.
Okay, now that we are live, I just suddenly be getting like a bunch of Discord messages. I'm not. I see them, Doc Anubis and Negative. I'm not responding to them right now, but like people are just messaging me. I don't know what they say. I'm gonna guess it's something along the lines of, "Oh, you're alive. What's going on? Why didn't you tell me?" I don't know.
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise! I gave this stream very little promotion because I didn't know how it was gonna go. Uh, Despite that, we still got a bunch of viewers. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna get into it now and actually show you guys some of the artwork that we put together. So originally it started off with this pretty early concept, which was the Enchanted Caverns. And this is something that I made using AI art. And I know AI art, it's a triggering word. It's super controversial. How dare you support AI art? Okay, so I could have this debate all day on like how like whether or not people should be using AI art. My stance on it is it's good. I think that it is that where it is perfectly fine. Where it's going, I am concerned about. Like, because right now, I honestly do not believe it replaces artists, but I am concerned that one day it will. But for now, at least, I think it's a very 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 useful tool. Um. Anyway, so I spent a bunch of time in an AI art generator to start generating the Enchanted Caverns. And this was one of the first actually good looking pieces of artwork made from it. Some of the earlier ones looked like absolute trash. I forgot to include them in the live stream, but I should have. But know that they were weird blends of like yellow and black and sparkles, and it looked terrible. And
The
then
yellow caverns.
yeah. Oh, so for this first one, it is supposed to be the city for the crystal ponies in the Enchanted Caverns. And I don't know what much if there's much more to say on that. Yeah, that's it. It's the city. And then this one is meant to be sort of the palace gate, the entrance into the palace. You can see in the background there, the gate. Now, the thing about AI art is that you can often tell when that it's AI art because it's got some issues. Like you can look at what looks like, I guess you could say, blinds on the right. It looks almost like window blinds. I don't know how else to describe it. It doesn't look right. Some areas have like solid colors and they don't look detailed. If I spent a long enough time with it, I could have gotten this looking better, but this was for an April Fool's joke. I wasn't gonna spend like 7 hours making this look right. And then we got this one, which was supposed to be sort of just a generic picture of it, that I decided to name the Crystal Cove because while I was talking with Cupute, we started talking about names for the different locations and potentially locations within the Enchanted Caverns, and the Crystal Cove was one of the ideas. And I believe, like, while we were talking in the early concepts of it, that it would be sort of a entrance in a way to like connecting the sea ponies to the crystal ponies. Like that was an idea that we had, right?
Yes, yes. That the if you remember from the G6 video, the sea ponies and the crystal ponies were both different concepts that were showcased in the video. This is where they would intermingle, where they would meet up with each other, and sea pony delivery ponies and crystal ponies, so they don't have to leave their civilization. That was at least the idea there.
Yeah. Okay, and then for this next image, we have the heart, and uh, we were brainstorming like some ideas for this one. We were thinking like maybe it would be like a central point within the Enchanted Caverns, maybe the source of the Enchanted Caverns magic. What else did we come up with for this again? I know that there was like a few
uh,
ideas.
So this is actually a really important piece of the crystal ponies like royalty, where they would get a blessing from the crystal heart, and that's how they like especially Minty, that's how she got her last name, is because when she was granted royalty and a blessing from the crystal, she was able to gain its power and be the princess of the crystal ponies. And so this heart is like not only the main source of the magic of the enchanted coves or the enchanted forest, but also is the source of the blessings that would, would emerge from it to the ponies themselves.
Okay, so real quick, I'm just reading through the live chat, uh, and Asteroid Pig asks, "Will you respond to messages in the stream chat or in Discord?" Probably stream chat, just because that's easiest. Because that's just what I've got pulled up on my phone. Uh, so if you guys want to ask questions, you can leave them in the stream chat, and I will try to get to them. Right now, I want to get through a few more images before we get to any Q&A.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot, and we will get to Minty. Minty is like the fantastic image. I have the best saved for last. And so beyond just these crystal or enchanted caverns images that were in the April Fool's video, there were actually a lot. Like, we're talking dozens that I did not include, and that they were just scrapped because I generated so many, and once I got the prompt down, they started looking really, really good, really consistently, and I was struggling to choose the best ones. And so we'll get to those in a bit. Thought I had those pulled up next. Apparently not. This is what's next in the slide. We'll get to the other Enchanted Caverns artwork in a bit. But right now, let's look at Cupute's artwork. We've done enough staring at my AI stuff. So this was one of the earliest concepts that Cupute sent that did make it into the video. I've also got some that did not make it into the video, but we'll get to those. This is one of the earliest concepts that Cupute sent. And it had this very unique eye style, like, with the pupils. And Cupute, I think I'll let you take it from here.
Yes. So when I was initially making the concepts, I wanted to think about different species that came from the years before, like in Generation 1 and Generation 3. And one of the concepts I thought about during that time was the twinkle dye ponies. I really, really admired the sort of look to them. And I thought, what if I combined the concept of the crystal ponies with the twinkle dye ponies, make them unicorns, so then, like, crystals grow out of their horn, and bada bing bada boom, I thought right here the pupils would be the crystals that came from the twinkle dyed ponies inspiration here. And some other things I thought about was, okay, what's other inspirations I could take from this, right? And another thing I really admired was sort of shapes, right? Like shapes complementing different assets in art. And one thing I really liked back in the day was LPS, like Littlest Pet Shop, where they had these like shapes as like their irises. And that's why right here, instead of using generic sort of circles like the years before, I thought, why don't I make it unique to this one and have them have star eyes? And you'll see in a lot of the other concepts here that the star eyes essentially are same throughout. So that's how I came up with this. Also, the idea of the gem eyes dilating was just something I played around with. I'm still not sure if, you know, I'm thinking about it, just as I go on. Um, but yeah, that's essentially how I came up with that.
I just realized this is unrelated to the artwork, but I just realized that I forgot to actually share my screen in the Discord live stage. So people have audio, they have no visual. Ugh. I
It's okay. Take
I
your time.
I think I can just fix that real quick. Give me one moment. Oh, there's a bunch of people in the Discord just listening. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. Sorry, people. Um.
Let's
Uh.
see.
One
Let's
moment. One moment. Okay. Okay, I think we are good. All right. So, next picture. Yet another one that did make it in. We will get to the ones that did not make it in, and I promise those are very interesting. But probably best to actually go over what was actually in the video. Okay, so Cupute, do you want to talk about this one?
hold on. It's taking a minute to. Okay, there you go. Yes. So the shapes of the bodies here are actually based on a different sketch that I initially showed Starstrike, where I had a sketchbook because I was like, you know, I'm pretty sure most artists, especially with making concept art in general, usually draw on paper because it's much more natural and it flows with your hand. So I initially drew it on paper and I drew the side and the front preview. And it was a little wonky on paper, but I essentially cleaned it out to this, where I outlined it, and this is essentially the body shapes for at least like the normal what's it called, body type for each of the ponies. And so, with this image in particular, there's a lot going on here. We're being introduced to how the crystal ponies look with their horn and the way their eyes look from the front and side. Um, we're also introduced to the unique traits that I put here, where uh, one thing that Starstrike really wanted was the sort of hourglass look to the leg because it made it unique. And so I integrated that into the leg design here as the sort of shape. And the hoof part was inspired by some concept art that I like, actual concept art for G5 that I saw that had that sort of leg shape. And I thought, okay, that's how I built the legs, right? And the wings I put together with like the idea of clouds being swirly and light, so that's how I drew the clouds there. And the reason why the crystal ponies and the other unicorn horn there is different is because I want there to be a distinction between the crystal ponies and regular unicorns. And so I was inspired by the horn design of G1, and so that's why it looks like a coral shell. And then the crystal pony's horn, it's much more inspired by G4, except much more angular and looking much more like a gem shard, being shoved out of the horn essentially.
Yeah, and it
And
turned out fantastic.
thank you. I
Yeah,
wanted their design to be much more sharp. And that's also the inspiration here is a lot of the shapes and the body type here is much more sharp.
now, I should say, like, we started off with the concept of the Enchanted Caverns. Like, that was one of the earliest ideas, one of the first ideas. And then from that point on, everything else about the Enchanted Caverns, the locations, the crystal ponies, the designs, Minty, Lazarite, like, all of that stemmed from the Crystal Caverns. Like, that just one initial concept. And it's always really amazing how you can take such a basic idea, such a tiny starting point, and then just expand upon it into this vast world. Like it's really, really amazing. It's really fun to do. Like I'm going to actually plug a podcast real quick, the World Explorers podcast, that Black Moonlight and I do. The link is in the description. And what we do every week is we just world build something. We take it as a tiny concept like, say, the Enchanted Caverns, and then we just spend an hour creating an entire world out of it. And it is a lot of fun. So if that interests you, link in the description. Check it out. Anyway, back to the Crystal Ponies. Actually, this is not a crystal pony. We got Gusty Winds. And yes, she is somewhat based off of the idea of Gusty from previous generations.
G1 to be
Yeah,
exact.
G1. We thought that she would be an interesting character to bring back, and I really like how this turned out. Like, this is Gusty in my mind. Like, I will never envision Gusty in any other way because I barely know anything about Gusty from G1 and G4 Gusty. We always only saw in like a silhouette, and so to me, to like see this version of her with this character design, this is Gusty to me. This is full on Gusty. Is it?
Yeah, with Gusty's design, by the way, the reason why she's an Earth Pony here is because I genuinely forgot to draw the horns, so excuse me for that.
But in
But
this
aside
world,
from
hold
yeah.
on. In this world, now because of that, Earth ponies can use magic.
Well, technically in our my rendition of G6, all ponies can use magic. They use a specific kind of system with that we can get into later.
Yeah. In short, we decided elemental system.
Yeah,
Like,
so
there's more to it than that, but that was like one of the big ones that like we started talking about, but we never fully developed. We didn't have enough time to like make a full blown magic system integrated into the world and everything. And plus, if we had gone and made a full on magic system for the world and then put that into the April Fool's video, I think it would have made it less convincing because nowhere like I've never seen anyone put out concept art and early versions of a show that is a work in progress and then explain to you in great detail how the magic system is going to work. I've never seen that done before, so we just didn't do that part. Uh, anyway, do you want to talk about the design process for Gusty?
yes. So, initially, I looked to Gusty because I really, really admired, the sort of aspect she had. In G1, she was known to be a powerful unicorn, and she had this specific like magic where she essentially blew wind. And it kind of intrigued me on how I can evolve that. And with G4, she was known as Gusty the Great. And that's a super impressive thing that was essentially a bedtime story for most. And so I thought it would be really cool to integrate her into this story as the protagonist. And essentially, I struggle with her hair. That was like the main thing. I almost made her have Twilight hair, but I was like, no, no, no. She is not Twilight. She's her own character. And so I kept thinking, what's different hair aspects that I could do? And I finally came up with this sort of unique shape to the hair where it looks like she still has bangs, but it has her own twist on it. Nice and flowy like the wind that she produces from her horn. Uh, reason why she also has glasses here is because it was something I considered where I liked the sort of idea of her nerdy aspect, where she really admires to learn and learn more about, everything else. Like she's very much a bookworm where she likes to absorb and learn about the world. But I realized not only how hard it is to draw glasses in many different perspectives, but also uh just other things. I sort of scrapped the idea later. But honestly, if there's any fan art of Gusty with glasses, I'll still admire it heavily because it
W-
is such a cute idea there.
we can say that the Gusty with glasses is canon. She just chooses not to wear them most of the time.
Pony contacts.
Yes, she has pony contact lenses.
Yeah.
All right, and then we've also got another bit of artwork for Gusty, and this one's got a cutie mark in it. And like we were talking about before with the whole elemental magic system, she was going to be a wind elemental, so she would have wind magic. And something that Cupute had mentioned was that wind could be seen as sort of a weak version of magic, not really the strongest in terms of, say, like combat or anything, because it's, oh, you puff a little bit of wind at your opponent. Congratulations, you gave them a light breeze, and it's not exactly a threatening ability. However, the idea with Gusty is that she is trying to take what is seemingly this weak and pathetic ability and uh, train herself in it to the point where it becomes extremely strong, where no one else is really ever putting in that much time and effort to train themselves in it because it seems pointless. But to her, this is she sees a lot of potential with wind, and she really wants to harness its abilities to the absolute fullest potential.
Yes, and the idea of her, wanting to do wind elemental is rather than using brute force to win her way through fights, it's rather more technical. So like making like a domino effect occur, more being like focused on her element to produce things out of wind, to fight against her enemies if she needs to protect herself. Things
Yeah,
like that
using her
with
brain
her.
rather than brawn.
Yeah. And with her cutie mark here, essentially it's a mixture of her G1 counterpart where she had the maple leaves, but the pink aura in the cutie mark is her magic aura. And yeah, her magic aura is pink to clarify. Um that is why that's her cutie mark, because she is good at wind element. And yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then we've got the flutter ponies and the sea ponies. Now, I think I'll let you talk about this one. This is like feel like this is one of your favorite things
Oh
from this
yes.
generation.
So the initial idea when I thought about the Flutter and Sea Ponies was not only their G1 counterpart, uh, obviously the G1 counterpart for Sea Ponies were not as sort of similar as to this. They looked more like they're like G4. But I thought about, okay, hippogriffs were able to change between their sea and land form. What if they had a similar concept, but for the flutter ponies? And so I thought, what if, because I was thinking, okay, how am I gonna integrate this properly, right? And I thought, wait, there's a Barbie doll where I forgot what it was called. It was like Fairytopia Barbie,
Yeah, I think
where
that was
she
it.
has, yeah, she has her butterfly wings. And essentially the idea of the movie is that she goes to the mermaids and she transforms into a mermaid using the wings of her butterfly wings as the fins for her mermaid tail. And that's essentially the idea here is each piece of the butterfly wings merges into the fins of the mermaid or the sea pony here, and vice versa. And the idea of the sea ponies and flutter ponies being the same being is actually a secret amongst G6. It is not known that they are one of the same. It's because they can live they could both live separate lives essentially, where the sea ponies live in the much more oceany places, and the flutter ponies live in I'm potentially thinking about this Butterfly Island, which is a location in G3. I'm still thinking about it though. It's very rough.
Okay, that's
um
some lore that I didn't even know about.
I actually came up with this 2 days ago when I was still writing one of my chapters, because I'm actually introducing more species aside from the sea ponies, the crystal ponies, and the unicorn, earth ponies, and pegasi.
Yeah,
Like
by
there
the
are going to be more introduced in this story.
yeah, by the way, guys, Cupute is actually making G6, like in the form of like a fan fiction. It's actually
Yes.
a thing that she is working on. You see, there's a lot of lore and a lot of world building that we did that just never made it into the video because we basically started off with some concepts and we just took things way further than necessary for an April Fool's joke. Like this is the you can tell like this is the most elaborate over the top April Fool's joke ever. This is it's just a bit much for a joke, but we still love it. And
I was so honored to do this. I went berserker mode when I freaking started making the lore and art for this. Oh, by the way, to clarify why the sea ponies are shown in the crystal coves and being the same pony, only only the sea or only specific creatures within the species is both changing between the two types on a daily is delivery ponies, because they travel through sea to deliver, things from places that can't really be accessed by air. And once they travel through the rivers and the seas, then they can travel through the air to get to higher places like the Pegasi region and other different regions that exist within G6. So just explaining that out there.
yeah,
Also, Star Strike, right? Real quick, should I link my FemFiction account in the chat,
sure.
or okay?
And
Just wanted to ask that just in case.
maybe after the stream I can add it into the description. I might be able to do it during the stream. I don't know, but I'm afraid to touch anything.
That's fair. Yeah, just keep it like that for now.
I
We'll handle that later.
I think I can add it in and not break anything, but I don't know 100% for certain.
Yeah.
Something else I want to mention real quick, something that Compute did while we were working on this was I gave her like some of the base concepts. It's like, okay, here's what I need for the video and everything. And then I think it's like a day or two later, she calls me and comes to me with like this several page PowerPoint presentation just detailing all of this lore, and I have to slow her down like, wait, okay. You know the video is 5 minutes long, right?
5 minutes. I'm kidding. We
Like
need 10 hours.
thing is, I had a bunch of lore as well that I wanted to put in the video, but I had to cut out my stuff too. Like again, we had so much that we wanted to include, and we just couldn't do it. And that's what this stream is for. This stream is for showing you guys all the stuff that we couldn't include in the I lost my thought. Can't speak. In the video, in the April Fool's video. Okay, so this next image is just some more of the sea pony. I should have shown this beforehand. I forgot that I included this. Yeah, I should have shown this beforehand to give people more stuff to look at for a longer period of time. But yeah, as you can see, more sea pony stuff. I don't know if you want to elaborate on this any further, or if I should just move on to the next slide.
So these look different because this was during the process of me trying to figure out how the fin situation works. So in the previous image, that one's like concrete on what the placement of the fin should look like. This is me thinking about the concept and trying to figure out, okay, this is how, like, this is like ideas like flowing out of my head rather than being concrete ideas. But yeah, this is how they would swim and interact, and it's very much like the hippogriffs, with like how like joyful and cutesy they are. um but yeah, that's about it.
Okay, yeah, Negative says in the chat that I can edit while live. Um, I believe you, but I have no faith in myself to not do something stupid. Okay, so uh next slide. Okay, so more location artwork. St. Louis. Yeah. Who all here saw the video and remember St. Louis? I'm going to guess everybody saw the video. Uh, it, anyway, yeah, St. Louis. This was supposed to be potentially the home of the Pegasi. This was more of a joke thing. This wasn't necessarily actual lore that was going to be in the world that we were creating. But my brother-in-law, I was talking to him and we were brainstorming location names and ideas, and he suggested St. Louis. And I thought it was too funny not to include. It doesn't seem like the sort of thing that would actually be put into the show, but I really, really wanted to include it. And so it made its way into the video. And so now we've got a glue factory. This is also some AI art, concept art, because this is better than anything I could do by hand. And I put in St. Louis version 2 at the top just to sell it on. Oh yeah, it helps sell it on. This is a work in progress. This is real. This is something people are working on. And then I did the same thing with St. Louis version 6, implying, oh, there were some other versions that they just aren't showing us everything, leaving little gaps of information, because you always get gaps of information when it comes to concept art that people are releasing. And for both cities, I gave like sort of this I gave a lot of fog and smoke, made it look almost factory-like. A lot of very pointed towers with like these antenna things at the top. Yeah, not much more on there. Pretty much everything about St. Louis that was developed was actually in the April Fool's video, because it was a small bit of absolute nonsense.
Sadly, I'm not sure if I'll be able to include this location in my fic, but
I don't expect you to, but if you do, maybe don't make it a horror story.
yeah, with the name itself, it's already hitting some marks. But it's
Yep.
funny though. I can totally see it as a separate, like a separate story that people could write though, like a more horror aspect. So like that sounds like a fun project for people if they want to touch that.
Yeah, send me all of your St. Louis fan fictions. All right. And then we've got even more concept art that didn't make it into the actual video. So we're finally to that portion. So to start off with, here is one of the earlier versions of the Enchanted Caverns. It's almost right. Like it does lacking some of the pink crystals and some better lighting, and you can see on the side of it, I don't know what's going on with the rocks, where it looks like some sort of a glowing ooze is just running down the rocks. I don't know how to describe that. You can see why I didn't include this one. Like it's okay, but there are better ones out there. And then there's this one. This one I was really, 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 really wanting to include, but at the same time, I felt like it didn't fit quite as well with the other Enchanted Caverns, and it's not even a cavern. Like it's the outside of the cavern, like the exit to it, and maybe there's some more caverns under the mountains. But it just looked really pretty, and I really kind of wish they had included it. But at the same time, I'm like, this would have just been a whole nother minute or two to add into the script just to world build this part.
I
Yep.
need to add this somewhere because I'm also like really intrigued by this artwork. It may change in different aspects, like who knows, like fire elements or some other element involved with this. But like I really like the composition of this and the idea that like there's a trail that like Gussie could potentially be walking on along the mountain range and right outside the caves. So, something to think about, you know?
Yeah, someone Artex in the chat said this is morbidly funny. I guess referring to St. Louis. Yeah,
Yes,
I
and it
agree.
also looks like an '80s fictional landscape for kids, which
Yes.
yeah, it's very cute.
All right. And then the next image is this one. This one I also kind of wanted to include, and I would have included it if it weren't for the water. The water, it looks super magical, super detailed, and everything. It looks super fancy, but it also looks kind of wonky. And I don't think it looks like real concept art just for that reason. Again, the idea was to make it as convincing as possible. And so this didn't make it in for that reason. But I thought it was too good not to show off here because I just really like this one with the mountain ranges in the back and the way the water looks. And the reflection turned out really well in the water, too. Like, it's not a perfect reflection, but it's pretty decent. Especially, like, again, for an AI, this is a pretty decent reflection. Okay, anyway, enough on that one. Then there's this one, which I wanted to include this next one in the video or in the live stream, just because I thought it was so unique in the way that it turned out. This one, for some reason, just turned out different than the rest. There's something that you can generally get with the AI art, especially like when you fine-tuned the prompt as much as I have, is you can stick in the artwork and then, or you can stick in the prompt and then you will consistently get very similar looking artwork with very similar styles. And when you're talking about like a location, like the Enchanted Caverns, the shapes and the details can change constantly. And they generally look pretty like they're all the same location, but this one just stuck out to me. It was just a bit different in the way that like the floor was. I don't know how to describe it. It looks almost like scales made of stone. Like, how would you describe this?
It I'm noting like someone who said in the comments here, the stones look like leaves. So
Oh
like
yeah.
it kind of looks like a civilization that their leaves and plant life potentially crystalled over and is now a part of the sort of environment of this sort of location here, where this could potentially be like a type of tree that grows like along the floor rather than going upwards potentially.
Yeah, and our Artex said that oh, I lost the comment now. Okay, here it is. Looks like beautiful Tartarus.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, I can see it. Honestly, like it really looks a lot like Tartarus if it were, pretty. Uh, of this image near the left side, the rocks look kind of wonky, and you could definitely tell it's AI art there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, did we get around to the minty portion?
No, but
Because I don't
that's coming
remember.
up. Minty is
Okay.
Minty is in the last slide because I have saved the best for last.
Fair.
Okay, so next slide. Some more Enchanted Cavern. This was actually one of the earliest versions of the Enchanted Caverns. You can see it definitely is not very fine-tuned. It looks a little too realistic. That's why I didn't include it. It didn't look enough like artwork. It looked a little bit more like a photograph. And it definitely wasn't it wasn't what I was going for. And then I've got another one here, which again, very, very early stages of me trying to fine tune the AI generator. By the way, I used so I use it. It runs on Stable Diffusion for anybody who is curious as to which uh which I can't think of it, not program, which model I was using to make these. And Stable Diffusion is pretty great once you figure out how to use it. Stable Diffusion is one that I think definitely takes a while to learn. But you can get some really nice artwork with it once you've figured it out. And then there's some other images. This one. These more 2D images that didn't make it in. Now, this was actually made after the video went up. These were much more recently made. And the reason is because I wanted to generate more stuff with the Enchanted Caverns just because I thought they looked really cool. And Canva, which is a site that I use to make my thumbnails and stuff, has now integrated AI generated art into their program. And so I started using that just to see what its version of the Enchanted Caverns would look like. And I think it's running off of a version of Stable Diffusion, just based on judging by what this looks like. And I really, really like the more 2D stuff that it's sticking out. It gives you a lot less control in Canva than it does on Playground AI, but this still turned out really well. And I honestly think that I like this 2D art style even more. And like on this image here, in the second image, there's like all this greenery in it, which I really like that it added that in. I did not tell it to add that in. It put that in on its own. Which I kind of wish that I had added that in. I think it looked really, really good, and it added in so much color. And I've got several other images for the 2D artwork here that Canva made. And I just thought it was so good that I really wanted to show it to everybody. And I really wish that this was what made it into the video, because like I like what I had before, but this just feels more legit. Like it actually looks more like something more like concept art you would see for something like My Little Pony. And it also just the art style, I love it so much. And I'm really kind of torn. Like I really do kind of wish that I had included it. And this is the first time Cupute's seeing this artwork as well, guys. So, Cupute, what do you think of this artwork?
This is whack because the images you gave me before of the Crystal Coves were definitely like more realistic, much more to like the G5 kind of level stuff. And I was like, I kind of want the concept of G6 to be much more 2D, like when it comes to like the art style and such. So I do admire the sort of way that this thing is going. I definitely think this is a really good baseline to give to a proper artist who can make the landscapes and such for this, because it's really pretty. And before, they also didn't showcase like greenery as well. And now that I'm like thinking about it, it would be really interesting to have like the inner caverns will look more similar to the stuff that was actually shown in the video, but much more outside the caverns, however, they can be openings like this where it's much more open, and there's a few more greeneries that's around, and this is where like Minty could be hanging around more because she feels kind of closed in her sort of caverns, and where Gusty could also meet her, you know, it is sort of meeting ground in these sort of areas.
Yeah,
Just like something to think about, because it's really pretty.
and that was another thing that we had. We came up with some story ideas for Gusty and Minty and how they meet and become friends. And I think we'll talk more about that when we actually get to the Minty portion of the live stream.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely a very interesting part, I would say. Now, this this next bit of artwork, this was AI generated, as you can probably tell. This was one of the earliest bits of concept art that I made for Generation 6. And it is quite horrendous, as you can tell.
Man, Minty looking weird here.
Yeah, this is so I did eventually fine tune this a little bit more to get it looking better, but I decided it still wasn't good enough, which is why I reached out to Cupute. And yeah, this is what it eventually fine-tuned into. Like, I eventually got it to look more like this, which is definitely far more convincing, but it still looks off. There's still so many areas that look very unprofessional, and there's just parts that looked really rough and incomplete, and I couldn't get multiple poses, like where they I get like a front view and a side view all side by side, and I just couldn't get it to look quite realistic, and like I couldn't get the concept art to look real enough. And then Cupute came along and actually made everything formatted and spread out in such a way that it actually looked real. So thank you so much, Cupute, because this would not have been the most convincing thing in the world. But something I do want to talk about with this AI art, the one on the right for this very, very, very early concept art, you can see that this pony has 2 horns. Now, this was actually, believe it or not, an idea that we were going to include in the G6 artwork, where we were going to have some unicorns with a horn that split into 2 points, and we were going to call them bicorns. And that idea never made it in, because correct me if I'm wrong, Cupute, you said that it was just really difficult to get the horn to look right. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like especially the splitting from 2 points. I feel like that would look way more like Kieran's rather than like unicorns to some degree. It was really hard to try to conceptualize that specific idea, sadly. I wanted to consider that, but that was just not something I was able to physically draw.
Yeah, Negative Light says, like the stream. Yes, please do that. That is a thing you should do. Everybody should like this stream. It helps it boost in the algorithm.
Hecky.
Okay, and so yeah, as you can tell, this horrendous AI artwork, it never made it into the video for obvious reasons. This is not convincing in the least, but it was some of the earliest attempts at me generating the artwork. And then we've got this. So this was one of Cupute's pieces of concept art. As you can see, early work. It's not always the most aesthetically appealing stuff in the world. So
Man, like this is what we're actually considering the title to be. You know, My Little Pony's too cliche. We gotta go with My Little Cone.
this isn't copyrighted by Hasbro. It's not trademarked. We can get away with it. We can make this. Yeah, we don't have to worry. They can't claim this video. This is not My Little Pony. This is our own original story, My Little Comb.
Yeah, no.
So do you want to go into the thought process behind this, I'm going to say, chibi style artwork?
Yeah, I was trying to like conceptualize, like all right, how am I gonna start this out? Because I've never made like proper concept art, like stuff that like looks like concept art. And I was like, okay, why don't I just, put like why don't I try to make like horse-like features for this newer generation since G4 essentially like took its own interpretation of it. And as I was drawing the horse on the top, the top of it looks normal to some degree. Um, then I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like draw some teeth and I'm just gonna I don't know, the ears, the hair, and then I got to the body and I was like, I'm sorry. Do. And originally it had 5 legs, but then I removed the middle one to make it 4. And then I was like, yeah, this ain't it. Believe it or not, this was on the same cuz like Procreate has different like layers that you can like remove and show. This was on the same layer as some of the artwork like the very first artwork we showed in the stream. That was actually on the same layer as this one, I believe, and some other ones. So
Yeah.
inspiration comes from
Yeah.
weird places.
Like I said, we were gonna have bicorns in G6, um, and that the inspiration for that came from the uh the AI artwork where the horns were like in weird places, like in the eyes and weird colors. Uh, yeah, people in the chat, because this is a comb pony. People in the chat are just going, "Oh, Sweetie Belle, I really like her mane."
Yeah, it's like a side series, about instead of horses, it's combs that are vaguely horse shaped.
Yes, this you know what, this will be G 6.5. It'll be the pony life of G6.
Oh no.
All right, so now moving on to the next image. This is another pretty early version of the artwork, and this one we were this one Cupute sent me, and it had little hearts in the horns and the ears as well. Like, it was very a very interesting take on the horns. I really like that design. But that did not stick around. And this also seems to resemble a lot of like earlier generations more. I should probably let you talk about this more than me because you're the one who drew it.
Yeah, so again, I was really inspired by G1 and G3 when it came to like the face because I like horses. I like the look of the goofy G1 and G3 horses. And so I wanted to see if I could interpolate the style based off of that gen and make it more, modernized. And of course, like the one on the left here is much more of like the normal looking version of the horses in that gen. And then the one to the right has much more of a chibi kind of style to it. But I looked at it more, especially the one on the right, and I was like, that's like the type of art that I would go to Walmart and I would buy generic horse toy and I would see the sort of funky style that they try to make up to, market off of My Little Pony. And so I'm thinking, oh, I don't know. I I still like some aspects of this, like the sort of um indent, like the what's it called, the hourglass leg. It was still in the concept. I really liked the heart in the ears, although you'll see later how that's gonna evolve into something different because for those who are a fan of my art, I draw ears in a specific way that's like so known by everyone. My ears are massive. And this was like a smaller version, but it was impossible to like look at this and say, "Oh, that's not Capute's art." So I had to think of something, you know? I needed to stray away from that and think in a different direction here.
We
So
also oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, like, if you want to go on to the next image.
Yeah. Another thing that real quick, we thought that this artwork, um, it was it just didn't seem like something Hasbro would make. That was another thing. We were trying to be convincing in our April Fool's video, and it just didn't seem like something Hasbro would do. It seemed like something Hasbro might have done in the 80s and maybe the 90s, but not in the modern day. Like Cupute was talking about, this is more like the My Little Pony knockoff brand.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we've got this next image, which I don't know how to describe it. I'll let you take it if the image is loaded for you.
Yeah, it's taken a minute.
Oh,
Okay, there it is. Okay, so with this one in particular, again, I was very much inspired by Gen 1, like I said, with the unique sort of shape with the eyes, especially the eyes and the faces. I really liked the front facing one, but when I looked at like the one with like the right side with that horse, I just thought like it's I don't know. I I thought it was too um I guess you can say horse like with the mane and such. I thought it was pretty initially, but I thought, but is this really something My Little Pony, the franchise that profited very, very aggressively on G4, would go in this sort of direction? And so like that's when I thought to myself, I need to take a I need to take a different point of view on this. So I went in a totally different direction. Of course, if you want to see art similar, especially to the left side with like the front facing horse like that, if you want to see a style similar to that, I do draw a specific character called Dancing Butterflies. I draw her in this like G1 style. So if you like that style, I do happen to draw in that style. It's just for this G6 thing in particular, and no, I needed to go in a different style, in a different direction. So yeah.
all right. And then we've got some of the very early concepts. This will eventually load for you, Compute. We got some of the very early concepts that were drawn on paper, like she was talking about before, where you can see the style is finally we're starting to get like the set style that we had for the actual video.
Yes. And right here, if you look at the top left, you'll see that I was still trying to grasp onto the idea of like the unique kind of muzzles that G1 has with like the lip and such. But then I was like, nah. But then during that, I thought, oh, dyed ponies. It would be cool if like I tried to integrate it through this, right? And so I drew the eye there, and then I thought about, okay, why don't I draw like a more chibi style? And so that's where the bottom left and the bottom right is. Those are Powerpuff Girl inspired horses, where they're much more round and bouncy. Um, and then I thought, okay, I don't know if they would go in a much more childish approach. I mean, obviously it's My Little Pony, but I'm thinking like, what if this was more, I don't know, like Avatar, where Avatar The Last Airbender, yes, it was an immaculate and amazing show that had a lot of detail and a lot of story built into it, right? And so I thought, okay, let me go back to the concept art and see what I can absorb from that. and there was this one concept art that I saw from a lineup. It's a much more rare one that I saw that essentially had like a panel of a bunch of different sketches of like the main six in like this new style, right? They were trying to figure out a different style for G5, and one of them integrated the sort of leg shape there. And like I said before, when I was trying to figure out like how the shape of the horses should be, this is what I sketched on paper. And yes, it's a little crusty. um but I made sure to measure here and uh build this sort of foundation for what it turned into eventually. And that's where this came from.
Yeah, real quick, I just have to say, uh, objectively, I firmly believe that Avatar: The Last Airbender is the most well-written show to ever exist.
To clarify for people, Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Yes,
not
Avatar: The
Avatar: The
Last
Blue.
Airbender.
Yeah.
Not the blue people, Pocahontas unobtainium thing. Uh, Avatar: The Last Airbender, absolute masterpiece. Uh, anyway, moving on to some more artwork. This is another one of the very, very early ones where I think like the style was finally taking form. Like it was finally solidified. Yes, this is the style that we are going with for Generation 6. Now, it gets a little bit more, I guess you could say, refined in later concept art, but at this point, like, the style was decided upon. Like, this is what we're going with.
And you can see here the star eyes are very much prevalent in these artworks right here, where the star eyes are part of the irises and me trying to figure out the horn situation. I did the previous style, like Star had said, where I did like the swirl in the horn and such, but I also did the other style where if you look to the right, I did the crystal-eyed pony thing, as well as the sharp like angular horn that is also in this. And the bottom there was like a test run, but that one is very much unrefined. These top ones here were much more refined by the time I got to them, and they turned into what you may see later. But yeah, that's essentially uh, also, another thing that I thought of was why don't, instead of going the more rounder approach, I go with much more sharp edges to make it much more distinct than the other gens, because the other gens focused more on rounder shapes. And so I thought it would be really interesting and unique if I did more sharp shapes. And in this one here, you'll see that with the previous sketches before, I tried to make more sketches using the concepts there. And so these ones used to be much more broader hoof shapes. And then I did the other style where I made it more linear and with that unique kind of shape to the legs. And right here, uh, you guys can probably guess who that is in the front. Um, I thought about having one of the crystal ponies be Rarity. Uh,
I mean, it would fit.
it would absolutely 100% fit. Um, but I'm still like trying to work out the sort of like things in the story. So I'm putting this in the back burner for now, but honestly, like this was the beginning process of where it took me for the style essentially. Aside from the sketches that you saw earlier, this was also trying to put that foundation into the body type and shape.
Yeah, and I think this one really did turn out really, really interesting. Like, there's so much artwork that just never made it in, but it's so, so interesting. There's so many interesting concepts with this. Anyway, so the next artwork, we're finally to the best, greatest thing, at least in my opinion, to come out of G6, and that is Princess Minty Lazurite. Now this artwork, we wanted something more finished looking because we wanted a bunch of concept art that looked like, oh, it's a work in progress, but then we wanted something that looked more finished as well. And this was the main thing we had. We also had Gusty, which we will talk about more, but we wanted one that looked like 100% done, finished design, coloring, everything, and it was Minty Lazurite. Now this one, I'll let you talk about this. I know a lot went into this.
Yes. So first things first, the style is completely refined here. I adopted uh the sort of body sprite sheet to make this. And as I was thinking about Minty, right? I was thinking about how can I adapt her into being a princess role, you know? Because when you think Minty, especially from D3, she is a very bubbly and, cutesy kind of character, almost similar to aspects of Derpy. And just loving socks and, having a fun time. Adapting her into G6 was a very interesting thing for me to think about. And obviously, I did not want to remove any sort of major aspects to her character because we all love Minty. Minty is amazing, right? So I wanted to make sure that we had that cute bubbly attitude, but also this serene kind of elegant look to her. And so as I was building this design, I kept looking up inspiration and ideas. And man, this is gonna make me sound old, but I don't know if any of you have seen Shark Boy and Lava Girl. If you remember in that movie, there was a girl that in the movie where she has this snowflake necklace, and later in the movie you find out that she in the other world is a ice princess essentially. And she has her ice powers and such, and this is what translated into sort of Minty's character, much less shy, but rather a sort of confident but bubbly and happy kind of character. And that's where I adopted her swirl hair and, her sort of look. And the gradient in her legs actually came from a toy that they did come out with in G3, where Minty has sort of snowflaking details on her, and she has this pink gradient going up her leg. And I thought the snowflakes was a little too much detail, so I just added the gradient there. And her name, Princess Minty Lazurite, was pieced by me. Uh, I thought about, okay, what could be a gemstone that could be placed upon her head? Because before this, she did not have a gemstone on her head. She was just, Princess Minty. And thinking, what kind of gems could I incorporate into her design as her crown? And so I thought, why don't I choose a gem or a crystal that has both green and blue in their design? And because she's teal, it's perfect. And guess what? Guess what crystal or gem did I choose? Huh, I wonder. Lazurite. Yeah, good job, guys.
Plus, it's just
But
a
yes,
fantastic name.
yeah, it's so beautiful. Like Princess Minty Lazurite. It's it just works. So that is essentially what I came up with here. And if you're wondering about the style of this, the reason why she is drawn like this is because I took major inspiration from, if you know the Rapunzel Tangled adventure series. The style that's interpolated here is based off of that style, and the backgrounds are much more similar to the sort of style that Star Strike couldn't include in the video, but it's much more 2D with like the aspects of it without the outlines. The only outlines would be in the characters here, like Minty is shown.
Yeah, Asteroid Pig was actually asking in the chat, is the lack of outlines due to trying to fit the AI's background style?
Not at all. That was not something I considered. I thought about that for a bit, but I realized that the renditions was much more there as a sort of baseline for what it could be. I thought they could have thought about like putting the renditions of like the 3D like the assets, but then later on translating uh like using like different textures to make it much more 2D. Kind of like I'm trying to think of like inspiration for that specifically, but it's essentially 3D that looks like 2D. Yeah, like shadeless 2D essentially. Um that was the sort of idea I had there where that is essentially what we saw was much more in the beginning of the process because they need to make the locations first and then the characters and then later on they would go back and refine it to make it look much more like the style of the ponies. Inner cutie mark, just to explain real quick, is the lazurite shards uh, mixed in with Minty's original cutie mark, and it's placed on the Minty, uh, the mints in the the cutie mark because it's placed on her head to resemble her royalty.
Yeah, and another thing in the design process, I don't have like the earlier version of it because it had like a bunch of reference art with it. But in the earlier design process, I remember like the mane and the tail were a little bit of a struggle at first.
Yeah, like I said, I I struggle most with hair on character designs. I want them to look unique and adorable. Uh and it wasn't as curly and bouncy as it was before, but later on in the renditions, I made them more bouncy and curly. And so that's why it looks like this now.
Yeah, like, and it turned out super, super well. And
Thank you.
it's just on every level. Like I said, this was by far the absolute best part of the entire thing. If you ask me, I just absolutely love Minty. Now about Minty and Gusty, I want to just go back in the slides real quick to where Gusty is, if it'll load in. Oh, it's struggling to load. Hold on.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Uh, so let's talk about Gusty and her relationship with Minty, and maybe
Yeah.
add in some world building with it. So where do you want to start with this? We could maybe talk more about Minty's character, I guess, and she was supposed to be like this
Wow,
big
you're glitching
regal.
out a little,
Yeah,
Star.
that the stream is gonna look like that.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so she was gonna be very bubbly and everything, and we were thinking it would be hilarious if we had like this big regal figure of Princess Minty Lazurite, and then people that are they approach her expecting someone like Princess Celestia, and then we get klutzy, bubbly, probably snorting while laughing character.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And so okay, I'm my mind is actually my memory is actually slipping me a little bit on Gusty and Minty. So we were thinking, might need you to help remind me on what all we did with this. So we were thinking about Gusty in her training. She wanted to go to the Crystal Caverns, which are a dangerous location. You don't go to the Crystal Caverns. There's dangerous magic there. We don't fully understand how it works. We stay away from it to where we understand how our elemental magic works. This character that she is, she goes over to the Enchanted Caverns, and Minty, not really wanting to be the most responsible of ponies, and with her royal duties, ends up sneaking out to the edge of the Enchanted Caverns, maybe to like that 2D art style location that we were showing before, where it actually had some greenery to it. What else was there to their meaning? Because like, what all, I remember there was some more reasoning behind why Gusty left. What was that again?
So again, back to her wind element, uh, she was essentially ridiculed for wanting to learn more about magic because the element she chose was wind, and most ponies from her town, which I'm thinking is Unicornia, uh, essentially like ridiculed her for choosing wind magic. And so a lot of the time when she tried to go out and learn within her town, she was essentially called a leaf blower, essentially. And she's like, well, this sucks. Why don't I just leave since no one wants to teach me how to hone my magic? Like, just because I chose wind and, just other aspects of that. It's like, come on, man. So she decides she's gonna go out, and she's if the unicorns aren't gonna teach her, some other pony or creature will. And so she heads out, and she hears about different locations, not only the enchanted caverns being a dangerous place, but even the mountains and other locations that she's heard of from being in school and them brain like wash the ponies there. And so she's thinking, you know what? Why don't I just go and see if these, powerful magical places can teach me how to hone my skills since apparently I'm not capable enough? And so she goes out and she travels and she finally meets the entrance of the crystal the crystal cove, the enchanted forest. Enchanted Cove, sorry.
Enchanted
I've been
Caverns.
calling it Enchanted Caverns. I've been calling it Crystal Cove for a minute. I need to correct myself
Crystal
there.
Cove is part of the Enchanted Caverns. It's fine.
Yeah, like she enters the front of it, right? And so she meets up with the sort of crystal lines and thinking, that's strange. I've never seen such large crystals emanating from, the tops and sides of like a cave. She's so used to seeing like rocks and other boring things that like she sees this and she's astonished. And she notices there's like whistling from like a nearby, like lake. Like she's like surrounded within the lake. She's like, what's going on here? So she goes and she sees this bubbly, like blue, like regal like pony just like whistling to herself as she's like picking a flower. And she's like, hello? And then Minty jumps because she does not expect any pony to be there. She's like, ah! And she's like really scared. She's like, what do you, oh gosh, please don't tell mom. Wait, what? Who are you? And like, she's like, oh, new friend. And she immediately goes and hugs her, and like Gusty's like squeezing for air, like, my name's Gusty.
Use the
Please
wind.
let go.
Use the wind element to breathe air into your lungs.
Yeah. Like she's like, please let go. She's like, oh, sorry. Oh, hi, I'm Minty. Princess Minty Lazarite. And Gusty's like, hi, I'm Gusty Wins. I'm a unicorn. I see you're also also a unicorn as she like points to her horn. She's like, no, I'm a crystal pony. Crystal pony? And she's like wondering, like thinking, like, I've never heard of crystal ponies. And so they start chatting, and eventually, like, she decides, you know what? Let me bring you to my civilization. And so goes she goes in and she shows Gusty the beautiful architecture of the giant crystal buildings and the different like beautiful crystalline sparkly gems from above and surrounding them. And that's essentially where they meet up there. And eventually, after some days of thinking and talking with Minty, she's thinking, you know, why don't why don't I bring her out of here? She seems desperate in leaving, not only because she's been a recluse for a good bit because her mom was terrified of ponies leaving, you know, the crystal ponies leaving because her father went missing. And for a long time, they were trying to understand why her father went missing, which is the king, by the way. And finally, you know, after enough time, Minty had enough. She wanted to go find her father and be able to show that she's much more stronger than she is, because she's also believed to be weak to some degree because she's afraid that she's going to be too weak to defend herself. And so finally, after some convincing and a plan, she and Gusty escapes and they start traveling together. And so, you know, that's apparently not apparently, that is essentially the storyline to how they meet up and they start going on an adventure. And each of the characters that I try to introduce into this will be like each of the species, uh there's like some chance that one of the creatures or ponies from that group or species may become one of the quote unquote main six, as to per se. And that's essentially the storyline is they travel together to understand themselves and to strive for greatness, which is essentially the title of G6 right now. What I came up with.
Yeah, as you can see, lots and lots of story ideas, characters were built. We built full on worlds, full blown characters, character dynamics, stories, everything. Like we were essentially just creating an entire new generation. Uh, yeah, now granted, Cupute has done a lot more ever since the April Fool's video in terms of like lore and world building and character ideas and stuff. Um, I haven't really been uh doing much to contribute to the fan fiction that she's currently working on for G6. I mostly just like pretty much everything I did is in the April Fool's video, and then some of what I did is like what you're seeing now, some of the scrap concepts, some of the things that just never made it in. But uh, when the G6 video or when the G6 fan fiction is done, know that 90% of it is Cupute, maybe more, probably more.
But hey, it was because of you coming to me and asking me to make this video and introduce Minty into it and, you know, other concepts like the crystal coves and such, that would have never happened. I would have still been trying to revive that other thing and failing because I was really struggling with a sort of baseline for the story. And now that I finally have a baseline for a story, I can continue with this and figure out something, you know, more interesting. And just to give a little hint, I hope you guys like snow ponies because that is something I'm considering adding. Hint, hint. Um, and everything I'm saying here is not concrete, by the way, to the lore. If I've discussed certain things, um, but they will be built upon. Uh, so yeah, that is one of the other species that I'll definitely be introducing, and possibly Kieran's. I'm still trying to concise the lore around each of them and such. But yes,
Okay, so someone uh okay, someone in the chat said make the snow ponies look like goats.
I I based ooh, sorry about that. My honey sneezed in the back. But to explain, essentially I based the snow ponies based off of the art that I've seen on Derby Baru and such. Uh much more inspired into the um Gaelic Native American kind of approach. They're much more isolated kind of group of ponies that live in the mountains, and they eat pine cones and fish, and wear boots as their sort of way of showing their tradition and culture.
Okay, so real quick, there seem to be some people who are only just now joining who are a little bit confused. So, uh, Soda Rain says, "Wait, G6 is already confirmed." Okay, yeah, they're explaining in the chat. Okay, yeah, this is G6 is totally fake. This is not a real thing. This is just some April Fool's stuff that we did that was just way too over the top. Very proud of it though. In it's becoming less and less of an April Fool's joke, and it's becoming more of a serious project. um, which I think is just amazing. Uh, and someone else was asking in the chat. Claudia P is asking, how did you get the idea? How did you get the idea for the character design? Uh,
Which one in particular? Because
well, it says the idea for the design for the ponies. So just in general, the ponies' designs, like I guess like the body shape and
Oh, yes.
ears. It's awful. Uh, anyway, uh,
So,
so
yes.
I was thinking that maybe uh for the design, like the idea for the legs actually started off with this AI artwork where it's got the sort of hourglass shaped legs, and that was sort of like this starting point was this AI art, and then from there you started developing this other style.
Yes. And as I was like later on just like thinking in the style portion of the design elements, I I very much thought I was like Hasbro, I feel like if with how the direction of G5 is going, I feel like they would want to fall back into things that's worked in the past. And because I really admired Lauren Faust's concept art a lot as well, I took aspects from that as well as other things to develop into what it is now, with especially the face. The sharp point of the muzzle was actually really like far in uh G4 concept art. And so that was essentially uh the idea of that. Speaking of G1 to G3, worth is it worth watching? Absolutely. Now here's my reasoning. G1 has, yes, it has its rough moments and it drags on to some degree with certain parts. But I genuinely think for being a pony show, it definitely had a pretty decent foundation. Some of the characters can be a little annoying and some of the plots can be a little drawn out, but I think for what it was, it definitely had a better show than a good chunk of stuff, you know? And for selling, like, for the main point of the show to be selling toys, the show was pretty decent. So, uh, G3, I love. I genuinely love it. As much of it as it is being such a childish generation, I think it's a really cute one. Like, the music is beautiful, the artwork is gorgeous, and even some of the artwork from G1 as well is really pretty at times. And so, like, I genuinely think it's worth watching, especially, like, just take a moment out of your time to look back at the older generations and just try to think of it as though, like, you're in that sort of time period and thinking, like, how would you feel if you were, sitting at your television watching this, right? It it's just happy and nice to feel and see this, the shows that it emulated, essentially.
Okay, so real quick, there was a conversation going on in the chat debating on what I should do about the internet. And I will tell you this, what you are hearing and seeing now could not be done with with the original setup that I had that used uh, a router and a modem. Like it was so slow it could not be done. This is the best option for the location where I live. So, putting all the debates in the chat on my internet to rest, this is the best option. It's totally unrelated, but that seems to be what's going on in the chat. At least there's interaction on the video. You went silent. Did we lose connection?
No. I'm
Okay.
just sorry.
That would have been really really kind
Yeah,
of
I'm here.
ironic.
Don't worry. But yes, oh man, I'm trying so hard to make this work. Although right now I'm in a little bit of a tight spot. So it's gonna be a bit before I continued writing. Uh I I need to open up commissions pretty soon so then I can get myself going on that. Uh but if you want to help, um that would be very, very gracious of you guys. I'm not gonna promote anything though, just in case, I don't wanna be rude.
Yeah, people are asking about like they're potentially getting their OCs put in as background ponies in the show. We're not making a show. Like it's just
It is
it's just
a
a fan
fan
fiction.
fiction. It is a fan fiction that I will be drawing, like, different scenes with um different scenes within the story, which I do have one of the artworks posted in the I think it's the your artwork section of Star Strike's Discord. If you want to come on in and see it, it'll be there. But yeah, like, I I'm adapting this into writing first because I truly believe that writing is the foundation of shows. If you don't have good writing, as pretty and as musically beautiful as it is, it it thrives so much more on writing. And so that's why I rather adapt it into writing than animation, which animation would take way too long to do. I've done it in the past before, and it takes way too long to do.
Yeah, if we were to turn this into an actual full-blown show with fully animated characters, full-on voice acting, we would never get it done. Like it would just take way too much. And to get it done really well, we'd probably have to pay a bunch of people, and the budget that I don't know about you, but my budget to make a G6 show is like nothing. So yeah, the show's not coming anytime soon unless Hasbro decides to hire us. So if anybody in in a higher up position in Hasbro happens to be watching this for whatever reason, give us a call. We'll start work on G6. Just please do not put as many constraints on us as you put on all of your other writers. It ruins the show.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Funny pony Jen.
Yeah, anyway, I think that's about everything. So link to Cupute's Twitter account is in the description for anyone who wants to go and follow her. She makes some fantastic artwork. Very, very, very talented artist. And with that, I think we can end the stream now. I don't think there's anything else for us to discuss. Actually, you know what? We could do some Q&A, like if anybody has questions, now that I think about it.
Yeah,
That was a thing that we were going to do, and we almost completely skipped that.
It's okay. Go ahead and ask questions.
Yeah. Okay, so gotta give the chat like maybe another 30 seconds for questions to come in.
Yes.
Type.
Here. Oh, here's your first question.
Did Cupute make your profile picture? No, it was the artwork for my character and all the stills was done by Benny Bunfox, who this is like the one time Benny is not linked in the description. But if you look at like all my other videos, Benny is linked in the description, and the profile picture is from one of those stills.
Yes. And if you guys are wondering, I did make my funny artworks here. If you're looking at the ear on my character right here, yes, that is my ear style. That's why it's so well known by people, because I constantly draw my ears like that.
All right, so what else have we got? How have you guys been? I've been pretty great. Thank you for asking. Cupute, how have you been?
I'm doing okay. Just trying to get commissions ready and set up. That's my feelings on it right now. But other than that, yes, I'm doing good.
Yeah, so how are you guys doing, chat? How's your day been? And while that chat takes a moment to come in, go ahead and answer another question. Oh, Blaze Gottman says sub to. He says sub to your channel. Your channel, Cupute.
Yes, my 3 video channel. I'm very much more active on Twitter, and hopefully soon fanfiction. I just need to write the first chapter of the fic. uh, but yes, those 2 are my most active thingies, and if you join the Discord, then you'll see that I chat on occasion on Star Strike server. But yes, if
Okay.
you guys want to see more content from me, but that's where you see it.
So Adventure Blue says, do you think you'll be able to pull something like this off next year, or is this a one-off thing? I assume you mean like making another April Fool's video with a bunch of artwork like this. I wasn't planning on doing this again next year. I don't even know what we would do next year. Like, we can't do G6 again.
More concept art.
Yeah, more concept art for G6. But the thing is, I think like once it's done the
Actually,
first time around.
Hasbro hired us.
Yeah, it's like that will be the next year's April Fool's video is, so we've been officially hired by Hasbro to work on the upcoming G6. Here's some of the concept art, and then we show My Little Comb.
My Little Comb. that would be insanity.
But yeah, this entire thing was just so over the top. We went way beyond necessary for an April Fool's joke. Uh, and that was just part of the fun of it. Was just how far we took it. And judging by the comments on that video, most people seem like they were fooled by it. So I would call it a success. But will we do it again? I don't know. At this moment, there's no plans for it. But like now that you mention it, maybe like if we come up with a good idea for it. I don't know. Cupute, are you open to doing it if we come up with a good idea?
Potentially. I mean, we will have to see when that comes around, because that's a whole year to wait for that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to make art. Yes.
Yeah, okay. What else have we got here? I'm just scrolling through the chat. There's a lot of chat now. Oh, I have lost. Listen, okay. So if G6 was an actual show, would there be Easter eggs from G4, G5, and probably G1, G2, G3?
Oh, heck yes. Heck yes. I absolutely will have a bunch of little things. For example, Minty still loves socks. That is not something I'm removing from her character. G6 Minty confirmed loves socks.
I don't even know how that would integrate into the story, but now I'm curious.
I will make it work. I don't care.
It's like they don't have. No, here's what it is. Here's what it is. They don't have socks in the Enchanted Caverns. Maybe they don't have clothing in general. They don't have a source of wool or anything. But then Minty ventures out of the Enchanted Caverns to a land where clothing exists, and then she finds out socks are a thing. Things that will keep your hooves warm.
And then she gets obsessed with them.
Yes. And then she steps in a puddle with them and is very disappointed to discover wet socks are not comfortable.
Pain.
There we go. There's some more Minty lore. Minty would just be like the greatest character ever.
I love her so much. I absolutely want to make sure she's like such a fun character to admire.
Okay, Lemedy asks, best princess, Luna, Sunbutt, Cadence, or Princess Big Mac?
Let's see. I do like Celestia a lot. I do admire Cadence too and Luna. Princess Big Mac though? Heck yeah. That has to be my favorite.
I've noticed you've left out Twilight and the Demon Child.
We don't talk about the Demon Child.
The princess.
We don't talk about
the princess of chaos and explosions.
And of course Cozy Glow as well, because she at one point became an alicorn. But
Well,
that's aside from the
you a princess. Does being an alicorn make you a princess?
If the Demon Child can be considered a princess because she's an alicorn, then yes, absolutely.
Well, I think she's a
Cozy
princess
well.
because she's the daughter of Cadence and Shining Armor.
So you're telling me if the baby had a horn and didn't eventually have wings, then they would be a princess?
Yes, because Prince Blueblood is a unicorn.
Well, there's no such thing as alicorn stallions in G4, so like that's like a debate on its own.
This might need to be a future video, just figuring out what constitutes an alicorn, what constitutes a princess, and like what makes you royalty, and is it being an alicorn?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What else? What else have we got in the chat? Asteroid Pig was asking about the apparently asking about the profile picture not for my YouTube, but for Discord. And for Discord, the profile picture was not made by Benny or Cupute. It was made by CC, which is somebody who's in my Discord. I have a fan art channel in the Discord, and CC made the profile picture just as some fan art, and uploaded it there. And so I just took it and decided I loved it so much that it became the profile picture. And I can see where you might think that it was Cupute, because it's got a similar ear style to what G6 has. Like, the ears do look pretty darn similar, but it's not quite. Yeah, okay, so next question. What else have we got? My dog is just bouncing around. I think she wants to play. So there might be some barking. There might be some barking in the background. I don't know yet. Oh, I didn't, and I just realized I didn't answer which princess is best. Luna. I don't care about the meme with Princess Big Mac. I just love Luna. Luna's amazing.
That's fair.
What else we got? People saying their day was good. That's good to hear. There's just a lot of silence. Quick, say something to fill the silence while I'm scrolling through the chat.
Gusty's favorite color is purple. I don't know. Hold on.
Okay, question. Nismo Rose says, I'm good. Also, what are you hoping to see in G5? I'm glad to hear you're doing good. So what I'm hoping to see in G5, I have so much that I am hoping for in G5, but I just don't expect any of it to happen. Like, that's the point I'm at with G5. I've given up on it to where I'm like, okay, there's so much potential here. I want to see Sunny continue her father's research. I would love to see her open a museum based around it. I want to see Sunny learn more about the history of Equestria, piece together different bits of information that they have, figure out what happened in the past. But I don't expect that to happen. That is one of the biggest ones that I want. And I see a lot of potential character growth coming from that, a lot of world building coming from that. I want to see a lot of the broken world building explained, like how the heck the day and night cycle works, how weather works now that magic has returned. Why is everything moving? How was stuff moving when magic wasn't around? But again, I just don't expect any of that to happen. But that's what I would like to see in G5. Cupute, what would you like to see in G5?
Opaline having Opaline having a threatening presence, because right now she looks kind of sad.
Yes, 100% agreed. Like, Opaline's threat level, like, and the amount of power she wields is literally to the point where I could take her on. Not talking about my pony version, my pony OC, mind you, no. I'm talking about human me walk up to her with a sword and win. That's how pathetic she is.
I don't think you need a sword. You just grab her.
Probably, yeah, that's true. Grab those gigantic, I don't know what you call them. They're not braids, with those sticks of hair that just, it just looks so off on her. The Rita Repulsa hair, grab a hold of that and just yank it, pull her down to the ground. Just like, she's not that hard to take down.
Opaline.
But you know what's funny? Opaline actually has the ability to win extremely easily. All she has to do is go over to the Crystal Bright House where the crystals are. She knows that the Crystal Bright House has these crystals because of the giant prism beam shooting out of it and the fact that it's decorated with a bunch of giant crystals all over it. Clearly, this is where they're being kept. Go over to it, break a window, because the entire top floor is just encased in glass. Break the window, fly in, and then absorb literally all magic in Equestria. That's all she needs to do.
Also, I really want to see Argyle. I like not in the case of like seeing him in like present day, obviously, but like flashbacks would be really interesting where we get to see more into like Sunny and how she developed into getting the beliefs that she has, because obviously we know that Argyle like sort of inspired her to be like as sort of confident in wanting to help and like befriend all ponies for a reason, because Argyle was there to inspire her, and I want to see like flashbacks of where Argyle is teaching her as a kid like different lessons, and then she like flashes back to the present, and that sort of helps her in like G5 where like she is dealing with a really crappy situation, and then she gets a flashback of her father like giving her like a motivational like talk when she's when she's younger, and then she remembers this and comes to her senses thinking, oh, this is what I can do, or this is what I need to do, that kind of thing would have been very helpful.
You see how much potential G5 has and just how little they are tapping into it? I have been known to be extremely critical of G5, but part of that is just because I see this endless potential and the fact that they are passing up on just about, literally all of it. I want G5 to be good. I so desperately want it to be good. And it frustrates me that it could so easily be amazing and it just isn't. Like, even if you like watch my review of Winter Wish Day, so many times I thought that they were going to do something fantastic with it, added some level of tension, just something creative, and they didn't. Like, and that happened constantly throughout the entire special. Anyway, moving on from G5, Negative Light asks, if you were given the opportunity, would you buy the rights to MLP? Maybe with a few other MLP tubers. I would not, because if I had the money to buy the rights to MLP, I would not waste it on buying the rights to MLP. I would just start my own animation studio and then create the G6, but not call it My Little Pony, call it Strive for Greatness. And then, of course, I would bring Cupute on as one of the head of story and directors.
And also, if we had the opportunity to buy MLP, it's either one of two things: we're very rich,
Yes.
or MLP has fallen to the break of like middle class pricing, which scares me.
Like, if it's that low, you probably don't want that IP. Hasbro would just abandon it at that point.
Oh,
well, then again,
so
Hasbro is very clingy to all of their stuff, so probably not.
I mean, it's worked in the past. Like, despite the fall of, for example, G2, they were able to rise a bit more with G3 and then explode with G4. So there's been their ups and downs with, the generations. And we never know. Maybe G6 could turn into something insane. Like, we don't know. It can be a flop, it can work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we were actually producing G6, like, we've got a winner here. Like, we've got an actually interesting show with interesting characters, interesting world building, designs, just literally everything is so fascinating to me. Okay, next question. Blaze Gottman asks, "How do we know when G6 will be released?" It's not real. So it's not uh unless he's talking about your fan fiction, which I assume that's a very difficult thing to figure out.
Yes. Writing takes a long time, especially when you want to make it good writing, and I mean good. So, like, I need to make sure to have a baseline for the plot down, like beginning and end goal, right? Sure that my
You cut out.
beginning is Cupute.
You cut out.
Um,
You said
of
make
course.
sure you're
uh I need to make sure that it's good. Like it needs to be grammatically correct and it also needs to be, story-wise concise and within itself, not messy. And
yeah.
so it's gonna take me a long time to concise and write and think about all of these things because I'm a new writer, believe it or not. I am very much new to the scene of writing. I've tried dabbling in it a few times, but I'm not good. I I needed some time to tinker around with different things. And I'm friends with a good few people who write as well, um, that are really helping me in this project. And I'm so thankful for them because they are helping me tons with this. I don't have a definite date, but just keep your eyes out on Twitter and especially on FinFiction. If you guys want to read this, keep an eye on those two. I will make sure to let people know when I do end up posting it. So, and also Star Strikers Discord, definitely.
Yeah, and as if you were asking about like when will G6 be released in terms of an actual G6 that Hasbro will produce, my guess is going to be around 2028 to 2030. That is my personal guess because it's about every 10 years that Hasbro tends to reboot the show and they
That's
introduce
fair.
a new generation. So if you want an actual real answer, there you go. Somewhere around there is my guess. Okay, would there be an Equestria Girls movie for G6? No, absolutely not.
Are we talking real or concept? Because concept, I don't even know if I could integrate Equestria Girls or even
It
humans
takes away
into
from
that.
the aesthetic and the fantasy world aspect of it so much to just place it in the real modern world with and replace all the magic with cell phones and laptops and emails, and it's so much more boring than just than having the actual fantasy world with the wind elementals and all of the different characters with Princess Minty Lazarite and the enchanted caverns and all of this stuff.
It doesn't necessarily have to be modern day, like human world or like humanized like things, but personally I don't feel as though that I want to write that kind of story. I wanted to focus more on equines because the show is called My Little Pony and I want to focus on the equine nature of the show. Both an aspect of how G4 did it with, the Kirans and, all the other species that were introduced there, and even G1 and somewhat of G3 as well. Uh, different aspects from each that I want to integrate and evolve into this story. Because when Lauren Faust made G4, uh, which, by the way, this is a fun fact. She took characters that were inspired from G1, but most of the names and even characters from G4 was actually from G3. Uh, let's see, Pinkie Pie, I believe Fluttershy, but Fluttershy was redesigned into a Posy uh, inspiration. Uh, Rarity, I think, is like the only one that isn't. I'm not sure on that. But Scootaloo also came from G3. You know, a bunch of other characters. You can look this up later. But it's like, yeah, humans in Equestria in this concept, no. Humans in the G6 we potentially could have. I don't know. That's something that could potentially happen. But yes, let's continue down the
Yeah.
question list.
Yoshi Bolt's asking, who's the better Flash? Flash Sentry or Flash Magnus? Is this even a question? Like, Flash Magnus. 100%. Flash Sentry was just so bland. There was nothing to him. He was so generic, so cliche, so stereotypically. There's a reason so many people hate Flash.
There's also reason that people tell stories of him. Like bedtime stories essentially.
Yeah, Flash is just slightly terrible. Okay.
He's a funny character, but yes, like next question.
Okay, next question. Nismo Rose asks, do you think Discord will be introduced in the show besides just the comic? I really hope so. I doubt it. And the reason I doubt it is because they're probably gonna want to get John Delancey back to voice Discord. And here's the thing, if they bring Discord back and they don't have John Delancey voicing him, everyone's gonna have a fit. And they know this. And so they won't bring him in unless they have John Delancey. And I don't think they're gonna have John Delancey because John Delancey is expensive and G5's budget is like G5's budget is lower than G6's budget.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary to think Discord in 3D.
Yeah, I mean, part of
With
the
the
reason
style that G5 is in right now, I don't know what a stylized Discord could look like.
yeah, I mean, the 2D aspect works really, really well when you're trying to make really outlandish effects and looks. Like Discord pulling out his eyeballs and just rolling them into a hole. Like that feels like something that works better in 2D, but if it was in 3D, it might look a little creepy. The way everything stretches in 2D, I think works a lot better. He's more easily, I'd say, manipulable. His design is more easily manipulated for more expressive movements and everything in 2D. I just don't think Discord would work well in 2D. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't bring him back. I mean, Twilight doesn't work in 3D, but they did that anyway. but yeah, I don't think that Discord's coming back in the show just because it would be too expensive. And to give you an idea as to like what the budget is like or how much they lowered the budget from the movie to the show. For the movie, they got James Marsden to voice Hitch. This is a pretty big name voice actor, and he did an amazing job playing Hitch. And then for the show, I tried to IMDb the guy voicing Hitch. There is nothing on him. I could not find any information on this guy, which tells me he's probably a very, very inexpensive voice actor. Now, he's not a bad voice actor. I want to make that clear. Like, cheap does not equal bad. He's a pretty good voice actor, and I think he conveys Hitch's show version of the character pretty well. not the movie version, because they're two different characters in my mind, but in terms of how he was portrayed in the show, I think that the voice actor did a really good job. He's just, obviously a much cheaper alternative to James Marsden, to the point where he hasn't worked in anything else. And that's why I'm sitting here like, yeah, Discord, probably not showing up.
Although it'd be really cool, but it'd be terrifying to think about, like, his sort of, him being shown in G5. By the
Uh,
way, Star, are we going to answer any questions that are placed in the Discord, or should we focus more on the YouTube?
I have literally not looked at the Discord this entire time. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and start looking at the Discord chat, just because I have not paid any attention to it. I am sorry, guys, in the Discord chat, for just ignoring you constantly. I am looking at it now. One moment. One moment. Pulling it up. Okay. Oh, somebody put in a 3D model of Discord in the chat. And it's a pretty decent looking 3D model. Um yeah. I just realized hold on, I just realized I accidentally joined the Discord call like on my phone, and so people did not hear what you said over the stream.
Oops. It's okay. But yes, to reiterate, Discord, like, people in the fandom can make really good fan made stuff. So like that doesn't, like, just because there's a model out there of Discord doesn't mean that what Hasbro may end up making could potentially be as, as quality as that. Um and we know this because of certain things we've seen throughout not only G5 but other things. But yeah, anyways.
Okay, so I will say, maybe we should try and speed run some of these questions, just because we have been going for over 2 hours now, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, so what else have we got like in the Discord chat?
An
So,
interesting one was what if Hasbro implemented some of your ideas for G6 whenever it comes around?
I mean, I would be like, I would have mixed feelings about it. I would say, oh yeah, that's awesome that they did that, but at the same time, I'd be like, man, really wish they had credited us for that.
Yeah.
Really wish they had hired us. We made it pretty clear we'll work for them.
I would be pretty flattered, but also sad because credit. Uh but yeah, it's pretty like, oh wow, this is cool. All I ask is for credit. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel on it. Let's see.
Yeah, what else have we got in the Discord?
How much hope do you guys have for G5? I
Yeah,
think we reiterated that we have, like, I've lost hope a while ago. I like Misty, in my opinion, is the glue holding uh the generation together. I genuinely think because Misty is as amazing of a character as she is there, that's like one of the main things that's kept it alive. Uh, Otherwise, I'm worried.
Yeah, I don't expect G5 to really get any better. Like I Winter Wish Day was sort of like the last strand of hope that I had for G5. I said, okay, you know what? Like the movie is show that there's at least some level of effort being put in, but then chapter 1 it felt like there was no effort or it was just extremely rushed, and chapter 2 really felt like there was no effort, and Winter Wish Day was just so bland and so generic. Like the only things going for Winter Wish Day were the jokes. And even those jokes, they aren't things that I would say really stick with you. They're jokes that you hear them once and then you're done. So there's no lasting impact from Winter Wish Day. Like there's something like say Best Gift Ever. Like I don't know how many times I've seen Best Gift Ever. Best Gift Ever was fantastic. That's because it gave you that impact. It leaves an impact on you. It hits emotionally. It has so many memorable characters. There's so many memorable moments, and and on top of that, it had the jokes, but it was more than just jokes. And that's why Best Gift Ever is so fantastic, and why Winter Wish Day was not, despite the fact that they had the same message. Actually, Best Gift Ever had multiple messages, but the main one was how it was the classic. It's not about like the gifts you get, it's or the gifts you give. It's about the time you spend together. And like I love that message. It's a simple message. It's been done a lot, but I think it works really well. And Winter Wish Day just it barely had that message. Yeah, anyway, what else we got? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
So apparently the audio from the Discord is broken, but from the stream it's working.
Uh
Whoops.
I don't know what's going on there or how to fix it.
No clue. I mean, they can pop in the stream instead to hear it, I guess. Here, hold on. But yeah, let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. I did see a question from earlier. Uh, that what other creatures are you wanting to implement into Strive for Greatness? Uh, I so one of the major ones I really want to add is snow ponies. Because I have such an admiration for snow ponies. Thanks to one of my friends who is helping me with this project and writing. Uh, I playing Minecraft for a bit, and he has a snow pony that he essentially is writing a story for. And we were just building like the snow pony village in like the mountains, and I thought, oh, it would be so cool if Gusty went as well to the mountains to see the like this civilization of snow ponies. And so I thought it was like a really cool idea to finally make lore for snow ponies and like stuff that like people can like read on and admire later. For example, I don't know if this will stay, but I really want it to. Snow ponies can essentially use maple trees that grow uh, around their little civilization. And the maple trees produce the sap, which usually in our modern day is called maple syrup and everywhere else in Equestria. But there, they call it tree gold because they love it like it's luxury. And they put it on everything. They put it on pine cones, they put it on tree bark, fish, sticks, just anything they can munch on essentially. And so that is essentially like that is essentially like things I like to adapt into the story. Uh I'm trying to think. Aside from the flutter ponies, the sea ponies, which are the same creature, the crystal ponies, the unicorn, earth ponies, and Pegasi will absolutely be a part of the story. Kieran's will also be a part of the story, but that part of the story will come in an interesting time. Uh, other other things that I want to adapt, I am not sure yet. I'm still in the building process of the story. Trying to get plot to work forward towards and just like laying down a foundation. Like especially the Minty backstory where Minty's father goes missing was something I made pretty recently, where I wanted there to be a good motivation as to why Minty wants to leave so bad, not only because her father is missing, but she wants to prove that she can strive for greatness and that she can shine as a star, you know? Just like things like that.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah, I absolutely love these concepts for G6. Really, really kind of want it to be real. And again, sorry to all the people in Discord where apparently my audio is broken. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what's wrong. I can't figure that out. It's working on the stream at least, like on YouTube. So that's good. But with that, I think it's probably about time for us to end the stream. We have been going for quite a while.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been great talking with you, Cupute. Great hanging out with all of you in chat. Thank you very much for coming and sticking around for this pretty lengthy live stream. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for just all of the stuffs. And with that, I think we are going to go.